Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Christy.
What are we talking about this week, Christy?
We are talking about dog relationships and and how they vary between dogs.
And it just so happens we just had a big old play group at my house. So
Yeah, we
this is
did.
going to be fresh on our brains.
Yeah. I think this came up originally in my brain to do this episode when I was dog sitting Tater and Trin with Jackson. And I watched how all three of them interacted with each other individually and together. And I thought, man, they all have very different relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same dogs, but Trin and Tater have a very different relationship than Trin and Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson and Tater have a very different relationship than Trin and Jackson.
And Trin is different when she is there with Jackson on her own, where when
Yes.
Tater is not in the dynamic.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. And then we had a little play group at my house 2 weekends ago. And who did we have? We had Tater, Trin, Tiago, our friends Stafford, Frankie, and Jackson, and our friends newer to her puppy who is about 8 months old. And
And
she
she is a
a,
healer.
a healer pit mix is what he's said to be. I have my
Mhm.
reservations and really hope she does a DNA test. So we're watching all of them interact, and I feel like, oh, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here. I feel like Christy and I are really good at putting together play groups and understanding what we expect to happen and then
Mhm.
managing them if things go off the rails because
Sure.
dogs.
Yeah.
So, how
We
we,
have a bit of experience in
yeah,
that area of
yeah,
organizing play groups, of watching for signs that things are
yeah.
going south.
Yeah. And generally if one of us feels that things are going off the rails, the other one's feeling it too, and we're sort of
Yeah.
going in slow motion like, no.
Yeah.
Um, so this one we set up and I put all of my dogs away and Jackson arrived with Bruce to my house. Frankie was already here. And so we had the three of them, and Frankie is like a super duper player, but like
Mhm.
she is such a soft sweetheart. Like she's a
Yeah.
hard player, but she's a sweetheart.
Mhm.
And I've seen her because she's around the same age as Trin. She'll be 2 in November. I have seen her mature a lot and
Mhm.
come so far in understanding that overwhelming a new dog is maybe not the way to go. And so I felt good about her already being here. So we sort of let Bruce and Jackson in, and Frankie's already in the yard. She's very comfortable here. We're dragging leashes, and off we go. And Bruce and
And
Jackson know each other.
yes, they've played together a couple times before
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At your house, right?
at my house. Yes.
Okay. So Frankie did a great job of sort of giving Bruce space and like letting him kind of acclimate. He's smelling the yard, whatever. Do you feel like Bruce and Jackson interacted in the same way at my yard as as they have in your yard?
Yes, there was more intensity,
Mm-hmm.
but it was their play
Mm-hmm.
just plus.
Yes. Do you think, like, I would say that that could be because it is their third time meeting, right?
Yeah, right.
And Bruce is growing up some more. He's getting
Sure.
bigger. Yeah. So there could be factors
Yeah.
in that. Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of energy in the group as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
And I think they brought that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then who did we add next? Tiago? No,
No, we
Trin.
had a friend.
We
Hmm.
added Trin. Okay. So we added Trin because Trin and Frankie's are besties.
Hmm.
Frankie's
Frankie.
plural. Trin and Frankie are besties, and we assumed that the girls would sort of go off and do their thing, and the boys would sort of be doing their thing.
I kind of assumed that Jackson would be with the girls because he loves Trin and he
Oh,
loves Frenchie.
interesting.
So I thought he would be dividing time between the girls and Bruce. And
Uh-huh.
then I thought Bruce would just be up in everything.
Sort of all up in it because he has a
Yeah.
lot of energy. He's an
Yeah.
8-month-old puppy. Yeah.
He's exploring the world. He's learning. Yeah.
And it didn't really go that way.
Uh-uh.
No.
Uh-uh. Nope.
As the boys were super amped and like vocal and crazy.
Jackson's like obsessed with Bruce
Yes.
in a way I have not seen him be obsessed with other dogs. And their play was interesting in there was a lot of maneuvering each other,
Mm,
controlling each other's movements in a
mm.
fun way. Like they both seem to be enjoying
Bruce kept
themselves.
coming back for more. Yep.
Yeah, we were very worried because,
It was
well, not
loud.
very worried. We were worried because, yes, Jackson is very loud and he was getting more and more loud. And if you have ever experienced dog fights in person, there's a moment that like really gets your heart like, ugh, it's about to happen. And he makes those noises
Yeah.
and they're pretty benign. Like
Yeah.
I don't even know if he knows he's making them.
No.
He just screams.
Yeah.
It's it's my least favorite thing about
Yeah.
him, to be honest.
Well, and it was interesting because, okay, so we had 4 adults there. 3 of us have experienced pretty serious dog fights, and 2 of us, myself and Christina, have had dog fights amongst our personal dogs, right? So we got a bit of PTSD situation there. And then Bruce's owner had an extremely reactive dog. And
Mhm.
so all of us are like triggered by these noises that they're like making. And we're all
Mhm.
sort of like trying not to overreact because you don't want to intervene if there's no reason to intervene.
Yeah.
But we also like are triggered and not wanting it to tip.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was very interesting in the beginning. It calmed down then, things came down a notch.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of frenzied play, shall you say, in the
Yeah, that's a
beginning.
good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd play.
So then Jackson was just obsessed with Bruce, and the girls weren't even really playing together. They were just sort of like do 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 do. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't go the way I expected it to go.
No, no. It was just a Bruce and Jackson play date.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
and
I
Jackson
mean,
loves Trin. And so I was surprised he was not, after he had some time with Bruce, that he wasn't like, okay, let me go see my bestie,
yeah.
Trin.
Yeah, because Trin spends a lot of time with you guys.
Yeah.
So for them to just sort of ignore each other, it was very interesting.
Yeah. It like hurt my feelings a little bit.
Oh,
Like, no, you go say hi to your friend.
yeah. The bitches got no play. They were just like, oh, on their own. They were fine. They were
They were fun.
meandering about
Yeah.
doing whatever they do. And then we brought Tiago out.
Uh-huh.
And okay, so I said from the get, I was like, Tiago is totally going to hall monitor this situation.
Mhm.
He is going to go right in between Bruce and Jackson, and he is going to dictate, you're doing too much.
Mhm.
He is totally going to do,
He's not wrong. Jackson
he's,
was doing too much.
and he did exactly what I expected him to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then he did the thing that I see him do when he has determined that dogs are being too much. But he
Mhm.
did not do it to Jackson, he did it to Bruce. If you think about it, he was not doing the over the back thing to Jackson. Did he?
I think he did once or twice,
But I
but you're
remember
right.
him doing it to
He did it
Bruce.
to Bruce. Yeah, because then I asked you about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Tiago does, okay, terms, right? So people would watch this. Some people watch this of a certain school of thought and be like, he's being dominant. He will come in, he will separate the dogs, and then he puts his chin over the shoulder
Mhm.
of a dog that he wants to like tamp down, so to speak.
Mhm.
And what I see it as more of almost like a herdy kind of move, which
Yeah.
Rottweilers do herd, that's
Mhm.
in their background. So because sometimes he will also like nip at a dog's shoulder blades, kind of, which is like a very herdy type of behavior. And so that's what he was doing to Bruce, which I find very interesting. He knows Jackson, and I think if Jackson was the only boy there, he would have done it to Jackson because we've seen him do it to Jackson in the past.
Mhm. Right.
But he chose to do it to the youngest male dog that was there, who was also being vocal.
Mhm.
And he
Not
does that.
nearly as vocal, but
Yeah.
yes.
And he does not do that move at all to either of his housemates,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Do you think that's because he has a balance, not balanced, a understood relationship with his housemates?
Yeah, I do. But I also, I mean, I do remember him, and it was 100% play. He wasn't
Yeah.
trying to amp Lucy down. But one of our play dates, he put his arm over top of her.
Yes.
And Heather was a little like, hey, like that's probably too much. And she loved it. She did not
Yeah.
care at all. And then he put her whole head in
In his
his
mouth.
mouth.
Yeah.
Um, and it wasn't an amping down, but what's interesting is this time it was.
Yes.
When he did it to the boys, it was definitely like a, hey, let's bring it down a notch.
Yeah.
Like you would almost like you would come and put your hand as an adult on the shoulder of a child and be
Yes.
like, hey, it's time to bring it down a notch.
Yeah, totally. That's totally what it looks like. That's
Yeah.
so funny. But I do think it's like, I'm just sitting here kind of thinking through how it went. And I'm like, yeah, he doesn't do that shit to his housemates. But then I think too, when you have an understanding with somebody you really know well, you
Sure.
can be less and them understand.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah,
like
like
he
you.
doesn't have to be extra for them because he can just give a
Mm-mm.
Trin and be like a look at Trin like bitch. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's like when your friend like tries to steal a fry off your plate and you're so hungry and you like give a dirty look
Yeah,
and you've been friends for 15 years and
yeah,
it's like, oh, that fry is not up for grabs. Okay, I
yeah.
got it.
You don't have to smack their hand. All you have to do is use your eyes.
Yeah. Or you think someone else is being ridiculous and you have a whole conversation with your eyes to your
Yes,
friend. Yeah, that
totally.
totally.
Okay, so that was that. And then we did decide to let Tater out this time.
Uh-huh.
Why did we decide it was okay this time to bring Tater out when we
Well, he's been out with all of those dogs other than Bruce.
true, Bruce was the only wild card this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And
So,
Bruce and Jackson were so infatuated with each other. And I
yeah.
also found it really interesting that Bulldog did not hump either of those boys, and he humps everybody.
Oh, that is interesting.
Hmm.
I hadn't thought about that.
Well, I have a theory on Bruce, which
But
would
he
be his
doesn't,
height.
okay, height for
Okay.
Bruce,
Hmm.
but I don't think he humps
Does he hump
Jackson.
Jackson? He
Mm-mm. Not at
doesn't.
my house. Mm-mm.
Oh, right, because remember you were telling me when Tater and Trin were at your house, they Trin was like trying to get away from Tater humping her, and but
Hmm.
he wasn't humping Jackson.
Right. Yeah. And so that changed the dynamic when
Yeah.
Tater is over because if Trin and Jackson get going, Tater comes and humps Trin,
Hmm.
and then Trin shuts down.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want that.
Yeah. So then Jackson's like, well, if you're not going to play, like I'll play with the bulldog, and the
Yeah,
bulldog will play with him.
he's all for it.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about that? The whole humping thing?
Huh.
That when the three of our dogs play together, Tater will hump Trin, and she literally, it's like it's not happening. She just keeps playing with Tiago.
Huh. Yeah,
Isn't
she
that,
wanted no part of it at my house.
that is wild.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Huh. I don't know.
Why in a different environment would humping make her shut down? Not that okay, we're not saying humping's okay, or like the bulldog's
Right.
ridiculous, okay?
Yeah. He is out of
Um,
control.
but like why in one environment would that make her shut down and in another environment she just ignores it like it's not happening and keeps on playing?
Yeah, I don't
Does
know.
she play, do Jackson and Trin just play bitey face like in one position, or are they more like
No,
mobile? Yeah,
they
that
run. They
that could
run.
be it because Tiago and Trin will play bitey face in a stationary position like quite a bit. And so she can just be like bitey face with him and Tater's like attached to her rear and she's like, whatever, I'm still playing.
Yeah. No, they like to run around a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Although if it's just the two of them, they will play bitey face on the
Yeah.
couch
Yeah, that's
on my
true.
lap, no matter where I sit.
Because there's nowhere to run. I've seen those pictures. Yeah.
No matter where I sit on that couch, they find me.
So we had a five, six,
Mhm,
six dog situation and saw different dynamics between each dog, each little
mhm,
group, the overall group that are
mhm.
completely different than how those dogs interact with other dogs and each other in other environments.
Yeah.
I find
Yeah,
that fascinating.
it is. And what's funny is we commented that Tiago and Jackson are periphery friends.
100%.
That they're friends because their group of friends is friends.
Yes.
And that's
What did we
it.
say? They're like adjacent acquaintances.
Yes, yes. Isn't that fun?
Totally.
Yeah, like they get along fine. I could dog sit Tiago over here. There would be no problems.
No.
They like each other fine, but
Yeah.
they're never going to be like, hey, you know who I'd like a play date with? That
Yeah.
guy.
Like they're never gonna go and like hang out together one on one and like go to the movies. Like it's just not gonna happen. They have to have another friend binding them together.
Mhm. Yeah. And what I think is interesting is Tiago is literally one of Lucy's very favorite dogs in the whole world.
No.
And I can't really express like how special their relationship was, but they would trot off together and then they'd like go and find smells and they would come back to get the other dog to share a smell.
Mm.
Like, hey, come over here and smell this cool thing with me.
Yeah.
And you just don't see that in
Mm-mm.
a lot of dog relationships. In fact, I don't think I've ever really seen that before.
Do you
Well,
think
and I
we romanticize it?
no,
I don't think we do either.
I think that's literally what happens, like, or
Mm-hmm.
happened with those two. Like
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't see her do it with any other dogs either.
Mm.
Like it was only Tiago that they'd pal around, and she loved Tater, but
Mm-hmm.
she would never be like, "Hey, Tater, come smell this smell with me."
Mm-mm. No,
She was
because
like, "Oh,
Tater,
I'm gonna get my
because
buddy."
Tater would put his freaking nose in it, and then if she came over to check it out, he'd be like, "Rah."
No, Tater would be like, did you want me to hump you now? Is
Ugh.
that what we're doing?"
I mean, one or the other. You never know what you're gonna get with the bulldog. And it's interesting too, like I was just kind of sitting here thinking about us saying like Jackson and Tiago are periphery friends. And I'm like, is that the boy dog thing? No. Is that a so then I'm like, okay, is it a size thing? No. Is that a breed, predominant breed? Because Jackson predominantly shepherd. And I'm like, well, I can't say that Tiago has ever had a boy shepherd friend because I don't really have friends who have boy shepherds. So I can't say that, but I'm
Why
going to
don't you
say
have
no.
friends with boy shepherds? Hmm?
I
You
have
know?
friends who have boy shepherds, but none that have been like, hey, does Tiago want to have a play date? How's that?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So I can't really say there's any, it's just their two personalities are
just
just not
personalities.
besties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I see a lot of Lucy in Jackson from time to time, like little
Mm,
things that he does. I'm like, oh, that's like what Lucy did. And it's so nice to see those things. But I also often think, I don't think Lucy and you would be friends.
yeah.
I think she would put you in your place and like be like, hey, you need to calm down. I
I do.
don't like you screaming.
I don't think Trin and Lucy would have worked.
Yeah,
Not
more
well.
so,
Not well.
not more so than Jackson, but you're right, probably.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have been besties for sure.
No.
Although, I mean, the bulldog and Lucy got along fine, and he is. noisy and crazy. So
Yeah, but trends, it's different energy for sure.
it is different.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's something to sit back and think about and when I always kind of think, "Oh, when we want to talk about something, I relate it to how could this be helpful to people?" Or like, why do we want to talk about this and just go on a little journey about a certain subject and have people listen to us talk about it? And in this case, I think it's comes back to the dogs are individuals thing. And
Hmm.
just because, okay, I don't think every dog is social. Like, that's not a thing.
Oh, right. Hmm.
And I certainly don't think that. I think that a lot of dogs change as they age, right? Tater is much more
Absolutely.
sensitive, like as he's gotten older, whatever.
Hmm.
But I would say that if your dog does not mesh with a certain dog, I would pay attention to that other dog's energy, who they are, and how they interact. And then maybe if you're going to try it again, try it with a dog who has a different energy and a different way of interacting.
Hmm.
But also don't assume that how your dog is with one dog is how they're going to be with another dog.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would 100% agree with that. I remember when I was really doing a lot of fostering, people would tell me, "Oh, we don't really need to do a meet and greet with your foster because my dog loves all dogs." And I now own the dog who loves all dogs, but I also think there would be better fits. That
Yes.
some fits are probably better than others
Yes.
for him. And
And,
he could do it with any dog, but
but are we asking something fair?
yeah, and
You know?
that's a big commitment. Like he doesn't get to say if if this other dog moves in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So say you bring in a dog for like a foster to adopt and your
Mhm.
dog and that dog just don't vibe. While I think that feedback is incredibly important, and obviously aggression is aggression, like we don't want unsafe, right?
Of course,
But
yes.
but sometimes it's just a matter of getting that right mix together.
Hmm.
And that dog might be not be right for you and your dog, but there's another dog that it they could be like perfectly harmonious with, you
Yeah.
know? So the feedback is important, but maybe feedback more like instead of they didn't get along,
Hmm.
maybe more like, well, their energy didn't match,
Yeah.
or my dog likes to really run and sort of play that way, and this
Hmm.
dog seemed to want to play in place, or
Hmm.
my dog really likes rough and rowdy, and this dog was more like a herding type behavior. You
Hmm.
know, more information than just they didn't get along.
Yeah. And what is funny is I would say Lucy's favorite play style was the rough and rowdy, like slam bodies into each other, like be insane. But she really didn't play that way with Tiago.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think they had rowdy times, but
yes,
that was not their
but that was
primary play style.
mm-mm. Like they had more of like a push pull, like
Mhm.
chase each other, have fun, play with toys.
Right.
And Lucy was the master of implementing toys to get
Hmm.
dogs to play with her. Like she wanted other
Which,
dogs to pull her around. She would lay on her bed and then make other dogs pull her around the
mhm.
house
Yeah.
with the
And
toy.
Tiago's the one who, when there's a puppy here and they're shy, he'll pick up a toy and throw it to
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And so just because maybe even that primary, their preferred play method is not being met in that other dog, it doesn't mean that that's not a perfect match either.
Yeah.
Because obviously they had rough and rowdy play sessions, but that wasn't who they were together.
Hmm.
And yet I would say he was probably her favorite dog,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah. Gosh, I just love I love the I just love watching the play and watching
Yeah.
the interactions and watching the little things and the nuances
Mhm.
and the oh gosh, I love it all. It's so cool to me.
It is. One other thing I would say is if your dog is that solid dog that people are like, hey, I really want a safe dog to bring my dog and do safe interactions, that's great. That's such a service. I can't even tell you how wonderful that is to know there's safe dogs out there. But if your dog isn't enjoying it, it's okay to say no on their behalf.
Absolutely.
Because I do
Absolutely.
know there's of people who are like, I don't think my dog enjoys this, but they are never going to act out or be mean to a puppy or whatever. So I let people
Yep.
come over and use my
Yep.
dog for these interactions. It's okay to, if your dog's not feeling it, it's okay to be like, oh, you know what? We're not doing that anymore. Or,
Yep.
oh, as my dog ages, I'm limiting that.
And that's where I am with Tiago. I mean, I do limit, his interactions because of his age and keeping his orthopedic health in mind, shall we say,
Absolutely.
because he can't keep up like he used to, even though he does it anyway. And I totally agree with you. No matter the age of the dog, if you do not, and if you go into it and you realize 3 minutes in or 10 minutes in, ooh, oh, I'm not sure that my dog is enjoying this. Trust your gut and say, you know
Mhm.
what? I don't think they're into it today. We're just gonna go home. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy way to advocate for your dog.
I agree.
So, the moral of the story, I suppose, is that dogs, like people, have different relationships within their dog community, and that's okay, and that should be celebrated.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with a dog who has select friends or lots of friends. There's social there's social butterflies and there's introverts. There
yeah,
are everything in between, just
yeah,
like in the human world. And I think it's great when you can just find dog friends that mesh with your dog.
right. And however your dog is feeling that day or in that little mix if you're trying something new, just you can honor whatever you feel like is right for your dog because you know them best and
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
yeah,
So go have fun reading dog behavior.
yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, dog friendships also don't always have to be play.
Oh, that's
So,
so true.
so I know that Jackson and my best friend Michelle's dog are not good off leash playing together. Macy doesn't enjoy him, and that's okay. He's a lot. I get it, Macy. That makes sense. But they are getting very used to going on walks together, and she doesn't react to him at all on walks anymore. They're able to walk side by side. And that's also how we built that relationship with my brother's
Yeah.
dog, is those walks and being able to build it from there. And now they can be off leash and play some. But just because your dog isn't a dog that enjoys off leash time doesn't mean they can't have dog friends.
Yeah, because I think that those walks, for example, that your brother and you have done with Osa and Jackson, they have allowed Osa to learn about Jackson and his behavior and see more predictability in that. And
Mhm,
so that is key for a dog like her, right?
mhm.
So
Absolutely.
that her trusting in the predictability of Jackson's stable behavior is why I mean, also the work, but is
Mhm.
why you are where you are now, right?
Right.
If
Yeah.
Jackson was, and I'm not saying unpredictable dogs are bad necessarily, but
Mhm,
like Jackson is who he is and he's pretty tried and true. And
mhm,
so she has found comfort and
mhm.
trust in him responding the same way in
Right.
those scenarios. And
Mhm.
you all are good at making sure that they're set up for success each time. So I totally agree with you. You can have maybe Your dog doesn't like to play with another dog, but they like to hike side by side.
Yeah.
Maybe they like to, like you said, go on walks together. Maybe
Mhm.
they like to go sit, be on opposite sides of the table at patios together. Who knows? Not every dog that comes along wants to play with the other dogs, certainly, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of situations where they can coexist peacefully and in a positive way.
And not just coexist, but really enjoy that time
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Because I would say now Osa gets, she does these play bows when she realizes Jackson's there, and she whines and she cries and she gets all spinny, and she's so excited to see both of us now.
yeah.
And so she genuinely enjoys that time together in a very safe way. So, yeah.
I love that. So go watch your dogs play or go enjoy some dog behavior.
Yes. Have fun with your dogs.
Yes.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.